So, hey, Aydin, great to have you on the show again. How are you doing?
I'm great, Lucas. It's Happy New Year's. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for covering the space with such diligence and laser accuracy.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it looks like we're now at the bottom of this correction, hopefully. So there are better times when it makes more fun to be an investor in crypto and in these stocks. But yeah, I think it's great to have you on the show to talk about Hive blockchain because you joined there. You're the COO and president, I think. Yeah,
Yep,
how is it going at Hive blockchain?
it's awesome. I've got an amazing team. I get to work with Frank Holmes, of course. We're a truly global company. Working multiple time zones. So my phone is like radioactive; it never stops. And we get to work on some really exciting initiatives. We've got some really cool things that we're planning for 2022 that are, we gave a preview of a lot in our AGM presentation. Anybody interested in getting an update on Hive, I believe it's posted. We did a nice year-end AGM presentation, but we've got some surprises in store for 2022 that I've been working on with my team. And no, overall, our team in Sweden is amazing. Our guys in Canada, Quebec and New Brunswick, they're really just all going around the clock. So and the energy, it just kind of keeps you going too, right? So it's fantastic, man. Thanks for asking.
Nice. Which place is better to mine? Is it Sweden or Canada or Iceland? What do you think?
I think that they're all good jurisdictions because they all have cool climate, they're politically stable, and we've got very attractive power pricing. And as you know, a big part of the Hive story is that all of our energy is green energy, which I think isn't being talked about as much today as it was, maybe even 6 months ago. I think people now are just, getting lost in the idea of like scale and how big can we grow. But it's just a reminder that we've managed to get this far with our footprint as all green energy.
Yeah, I think that's good. You also put out a news release yesterday about the production numbers from December and the whole last year. So yeah, I mean the numbers look great. It's 423 Bitcoin equivalent in December alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, what can you tell us about the December numbers?
Yeah, I mean, we work very hard to have strong uptime, and I think that one thing, a new KPI, not a new KPI, but I think a KPI that people such as yourself and I that we look at is what is the Bitcoin per petahash, right? So it's great to talk about petahash numbers, but what is the output of that? You're an engineer, I'm an engineer, so if we think of Bitcoin as an energy-backed currency, and the system, right? The system of each operating company is a black box, right? Like a black box function, and your input is energy and your output is Bitcoin. How efficiently you're converting that energy to Bitcoin and at what cost? And so, obviously the factors are the joules per terahash of your ASICs, the PUE of your data center. And moreover, what we're realizing is how important uptime is. In 2017 and 2018, when people had, 2 and 5 megawatt facilities, having good uptime, it's more manageable. But now when you have these massive, facilities, I mean, globally, Hive, in our AGM presentation we covered, has 109 megawatts operating, right? And so ensuring consistent uptime across, whether it's numerous facilities or even one big one, it's nice that we're diversified, right? So we're not beholden to just one energy provider. I think in November or December, one of the industry peers, they had a big brownout and they had a lot of, their production was way down. And these things happen in the industry, right? So by being diversified, we're able to have good, consistent uptime across our sites. And our BTC per petahash was about 0.176 for December, which was, I believe, right at the top amongst our peers. So, and I know that you track this sort of stuff. So
yes, I mean, I have a Bitcoin mined per exahash, so it's multiplied by 1,000. So I have it at 173. So yeah, it's the top three. It's one of the best, definitely, and Bitcoin equivalent. So with the ether mining included. So yeah, the operational numbers are great. I think you said that you have like 2.6 exahash right now in Bitcoin equivalent hash rate. This is
yep.
also a lot. You're coming close to the 3 exahash installed. Yeah, that's also a good thing to get more hash rate online and to use the hash rate with a good productivity per exahash, good output per exahash. I think this is very important. Yeah, 2.6 exahash. So yeah, where is the growth? What is the growth story in the next few weeks, a month, in terms of hash rate? When do you bring more hash rate online?
So we covered a lot of this in our AGM presentation as well. So we're at 2.6 exahash right now. That's 1.7 exahash of pure Bitcoin mining capacity, and the balance of about 0.9 exahash is coming from the Ethereum footprint. Our projections are for a total of 4.3 exahash in throughout 2022, and of that we've got I believe 1.3 exahash is coming from the Ethereum footprint, and 3 exahash is coming from the Bitcoin mining footprint. So we've got expansions underway in terms of our facility in New Brunswick. We completed the 3rd building, so that I was actually overseeing the last little leg of construction, and it was energized towards the end of December. So that site will be, on a go-forward basis, operating at 50 megawatts. And our 4th building will bring that to 70 megawatts, which is going to be completed in the spring. And in addition to that, we've got expansions in Sweden. Originally it was a 20 megawatt site that's going on to 30 megawatts. So the today, which I covered in the AGM, our footprint is 109 megawatts. And by the end of January, it's going to be 129 megawatts. And then, of course, that will be further increased by another 20 megawatts in spring once our New Brunswick site is complete. So we'll be at 149. I mean, you could round it to 150 megawatts by spring of 2022.
Sounds good. What about further expansion? I mean, we have seen competitors, they like announcing hundreds of megawatts in different countries. What is the plan for Hive here? I mean, I like this gradual growth, but on the other side, investors love these big numbers. So is there a strategy to expand even further?
Yeah, so the short answer is yes. We, as I said, we've been working on some exciting things for 2022, and when the time is appropriate, we'll be able to make further announcements to the market. But it's certainly not lost on us that the market is craving scale, and it's like the order, it's increased by an order of magnitude. I think earlier I was commenting how in 2017 and 2018, companies, Hive had originally 2 megawatts and then 4 megawatts and grew quickly. And a lot of the operators were in that 2 to 10 megawatt range, and then all of a sudden people started getting in the 10 to 50 megawatt range, and now it's like 100 plus megawatts, right? And in fact hundreds of megawatts now. So it's easy to press release these things, but to actually build them out and execute is another story. And so that's one thing that I always like to point is the track record that we have of execution and doing our own infrastructure projects. There is a lot of intrinsic value, I believe, in long-term value in investing in infrastructure in jurisdictions with low cost and stable energy. because that pays off in the long run. The economic life cycle of a data center, of course, you can look at that as a 20-year investment. Your economic life cycle, and longer perhaps, your economic life cycle of your ASICs might be 3 years, right? So it's just an exercise in capital allocation. And so just to kind of close the comment off to your original question, it is that it's, we are carefully measuring, it's easy to just make a huge spend and splash and try to get a big PR with big numbers, but you always have to think about return on invested capital, right? Like Frank Holmes, US Global, he's a fund manager, and his career has been a series of how do you accumulate that capital and ultimately deliver shareholder value. So we're a crypto miner. Yes, we strive to have the best Bitcoin per petahash production in the space. Pound for pound, we want to be the best, and in doing that, accretively grow towards being much larger. So in measured doses.
Yeah, I think it's both important to have a growth plan, but also to deliver. I want to see both, and I think Hive has the potential to do all of this. I mean, Hive is now more than 4 years a miner. I started to invest 4 years ago. As you mentioned, it was at 2 megawatts then, and the market cap was at 1 billion. And right now the market cap is at 1 billion again, and it's 100 megawatts. And yeah, like the petahashes are like also 100 times or so, I don't know. So yeah, I mean, you could argue that it is undervalued now. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, when I look at the quarter results, I have it here. The EBITDA in Q3, or I think you call it Q4 or for Hive. It's not the calendar Q3, but it doesn't matter. From July to September, the EBITDA is at 70 million. So it's huge numbers. So when I use this quarter and multiply it with 4, we are at a PE ratio of 4 or something like this, or 5 now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's also for the other miners. So that's not the only for Hive blockchain. So the industry is very undervalued. So I was thinking, and a lot of investors are thinking, how can we stabilize this industry? For example, buying back shares or buying Bitcoin at some point of time. What do you think about things like this? Not just be a miner, so be a trader and doing things like this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about capital allocation, and buying Bitcoin at appropriate times makes sense as well. I think with a share buyback, there's other ways, I think, to manage a treasury that are more effective than a share buyback. I think that there are opportunities in the market that are great. Although I would say that we are undervalued. Our market cap per petahash is amongst the lowest of all of our peers. We had a great, the value of the crypto that we mined in December, it was about 20.9 million USD. And you look at all of the different KPIs and metrics. I know you have really good models that cover all this stuff. But whether it's, you look at our current hash rate, the amount of Bitcoin that we produced relative to the market cap, I do think that we are undervalued. So it's interesting because I'm on one hand, I want to share everything with you, but on I'm running a public company, so I can't say everything. I was contending with that as we chat, because you ask excellent questions, right? You ask very, very excellent questions.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it is undervalued. In my opinion, it is undervalued in my models too. So, yeah, what can you guys do to increase to support this stock price, and to install confidence from the shareholders and things like this? What should the miners do to get the people back on board?
Well, I think one thing that I've been doing, and having really great analysts like yourself help is just understand the equivalency between Bitcoin and Ethereum mining, right? Everything can be dollar denominated in US dollars. And so, it varies on a daily basis, but you can look at, well, how much US dollars would you generate if you had 1 exahash of Bitcoin mining, or 1 petahash, whatever unit you choose. And then similarly, how many US dollars would you generate if you had 1 terahash of Ethereum mining, or 1 gigahash of Ethereum mining? And so it fluctuates with time, but what I found is it generally fluctuates. Like 1 terahash of Ethereum mining is more or less equal to somewhere between 200 to 230 petahash of Bitcoin mining. If you want to be conservative, you could really easy. If we've got 4.5 terahash of Ethereum mining, which is what we have right now, you go 4.5 terahash times 200 petahash, well, that's 900 petahash of equivalent Bitcoin mining. And we have 1.7 exahash of pure Bitcoin mining. So you go 1.7 plus 0.9, there's your 2.6 exahash, right? And then in our growth projections, for example, in our presentation from our EGM, in 2022, we'll be at 6 terahash of Ethereum mining. So that's 6 terahash times 200 petahash is 1.2 exahash of Bitcoin mining, on top of a base footprint of 3 exahash of Bitcoin mining. So 3 exahash plus 1.2 is 4.2. That's a long-term projection. And so it's, I think, being able to allow the investing public to have an apples to apples comparison that they can come to on their own conclusion. You can go on Coin Wars, you can go on Crypto Compare, and just use those calculators to make it easy for yourself. And you can get more granular and be like, oh, well, it's actually 212 petahash per terahash, but you don't have to get that granular. That's like what you guys like you and me do. But for the investing public, it's easy. It's 200 petahash of Bitcoin mining per terahash of Ethereum mining, and so. But that's why we do the equivalent, and that's why we just try to say, look, this month the value of the crypto we mined is almost $21 million US, and that's very easy for everybody to compare against the peers, and they could just look at the market cap. And we don't have debt, like some of the miners have a lot of debt on their books, and we've I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but it's something to consider when you look at the enterprise value, not just the market cap. So there you go.
Yeah, I think the transparency is a lot improved for the miners I'm following, these operational updates. This is a new standard, and that's for me also now a must-have to invest into a mining company. Yeah, I want to know the production, the HODL, and things like this every month to compare these companies. That's very important for me. So I think that's a step into the right direction, to be transparent. Yeah, and on the other side, I think some policies to for example, to be not just a miner, be also a hodler, and also maybe a little bit a trader. So some competitors are starting to buy Bitcoin. Maybe they will sell a little bit later. So using the volatility in your advantage, I think this is also the way to go to some degree. To evolve from a pure Bitcoin miner to be like a hodler, a little trader, and to improve on this. It's my opinion.
We also we've got a good coin treasury as well, and so that's another thing too, is just having the value of the Bitcoin and the Ethereum HODL position. In a lot of ways, like Frank likes to say, Bitcoin is digital gold and Ethereum is a digital silver, and you see a little bit more volatility with Ethereum. But I think that with a lot of like layer 2 applications coming out with Ethereum, I think that there's going to be a lot of retail demand for Ethereum. And so I think that, look, in the past few weeks, we saw a little bit of a market correction. Looking at the 2 sigma analysis, if you look at the price variation using statistics, sigma being, a degree of variance, and this is data that you can statistically generate. If you look at the past 20 days and the past 60 days, both Bitcoin and Ethereum are oversold, like they're beyond their 2 sigma. And so we've seen support for that. We just got below 40,000 for Bitcoin in, past couple of days, and now we're back at 42, 43,000. So I think that, we saw support level at 40,000 and it was oversold, and, hopefully the market realizes that, and we still continue to see a lot of strength in both Bitcoin and Ether.
Yeah. Why not buying the dip now? I mean, the model shows, okay, we're at support. Why not buying some Ether and sell it in 2 weeks or so when it's up? Of course, you don't know it, but why not starting to implement a strategy like this? I know I'm an early follower of Hive blockchain, and Frank Holmes 4 years ago, he said, yeah, we will trade these assets. And there was also, they cooperated with the company from Hong Kong or so, and they did some trading. So is this also on the agenda for Hive?
Well, right now we fundamentally hodl all of our coin production. So in a way, by using cash reserves to fund operations, paying our power bills and stuff, and then hodling our coin production, it's in effect like we're accumulating the crypto. We are long on both Bitcoin and Ethereum, of course. So whether you use cash to go in the market and buy it, or use cash to cover your OPEX and just increase your coin reserves through production, it's just sort of what's a better break-even price. And on that note, the Ethereum mining, which may not be common knowledge to everybody out there, but in terms of power density, like if you have 1 megawatt of power and you fill it with Ethereum mining versus you had 1 megawatt of power and you filled it with Bitcoin mining, you actually get much more profit density per megawatt with Ethereum, and it's got a higher profit margin. Ethereum, getting good quality like NVIDIA cards. We announced our partnership last year. They're harder to get for sure, but Ethereum mining per megawatt, you get a lot of it's better profit density.
Yeah, I think it's more capex but less opex, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Than Bitcoin mining. Yes. Yeah, that's interesting. I see this. I mean, with Ether mining, it's always the shadow, because we want to move to proof of stake. So I mean, you have heard this like 1,000 times, I think, but I'm asking again, what are your predictions? I mean, I even heard that some people think, or some developers in Ether, they don't want to move to proof of stake. So what are you guys thinking about proof of stake, and when will Ethereum move there?
Yeah, so I think we saw in December, there was some, even Vitalik himself came back and he was like, okay, we were way too ambitious with our projections. It's, they pushed out the timeline. And I think I saw a funny meme where Vitalik was like really old, like he looked like he was, aged with gray hair. And he goes, this is Vitalik when proof of stake finally comes out. There's so many great layer 2 applications right now in Ethereum that I think help with scalability, and EIP 1559 attenuated the really high user fees. So I think the Ethereum ecosystem is working great as it is, and all of these tokens that exist on that ecosystem are much in the same way Lightning on the Bitcoin network helps scalability. There's so many layer 2 applications that are existing right now, and so I think it's doing just fine, and it's one of those things where it exactly like the developer community is divided, and it's kind of a narrative that we've heard over and over. And the GPs that we have are very robust, and they're not single purpose devices. Unlike an ASIC like an S9 or an S7 that turns into a paperweight. After they get priced out of the market in terms of hash rate economics, GPUs are versatile. I mean, NVIDIA, I saw an interesting stat lately with the top 20 market caps globally, like companies and asset classes, including gold, silver, Bitcoin, and NVIDIA is like $770 billion. So, the products that they make, their GPUs are very much in demand globally, right? So there's intrinsic value. And of course, Hive is, we're incubating our HPC project where we'll have alternate use case scenarios for our HPC fleet. So, this is an example of when we talk about being mindful with capital allocation and growth. We try to make every decision really count, and there's a lot of thought that goes behind each step. And so it's one of those things where I think the patient investor who realizes that we're undervalued right now can act on that. And if they have faith in the team and they watch our interviews and follow our press releases, hopefully they can observe patterns in the DNA and realize that the company's we're very active, and once we're ready to announce something, then we go at it hard. But we don't want to just jump to things prematurely.
Yes, I really like this. When it comes to the holdings like Ether holdings and Bitcoin holdings, it seems like you hodl 100% of the Bitcoin, but with Ether, I think you're selling some at some point, or it looks like, because you didn't publish the hodl. Why don't you talk about the hodl of Ether?
Well, that's being accumulated, and we just announced $100 million financing recently, and so there was some Ether that was sold, and that was covered in the December press release. We sold all our Ethereum Classic. We actually produced $2 million of Ethereum Classic in 2021, and that's just a good example. We had some of our cards which were better suited to mine Ethereum Classic still operate that. We still got value out of that hash rate on those older cards. And so that's just one small example of, making everything count. But yeah, a little bit of the Ethereum, look, we saw some all-time highs for Ethereum. So we realized that it was an astute use of, proceeds to realize some value from that Ethereum hodl position for some of our expansion initiatives. And then once we had the $100 million financing, then we replenished our cash treasury, and I believe that was done at a $6 financing. So a low cost of capital. So it's these sort of things. Frank is a titan in the capital markets, and so having his executive oversight. So when we're doing financings and treasury management, coupled with the very pure crypto technical expertise of the rest of our team, and so that's how we're able to make these decisions. But we'll update the hodl balances soon enough. We felt that the market would be happy to see that we had a strong Bitcoin hodl position, and I think we had an Ethereum hodl position announced in one of our quarterlies. We just haven't updated it yet. That's all.
Okay, yeah. So we're looking forward to get these numbers about Ether, because Hive is the miner with the biggest Ether hash rate, I know, and with the biggest hodl. So I mean, when you're bullish on Ether, you should be bullish on Hive.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, when we're talking about these HPC and AI rendering and all these things these NVIDIA chips could potentially do, did you direct one megawatt or so into this direction? Did you try it even, or do you run something like this for test, or is it just for the future when Ethereum goes to proof of stake?
Yeah, so it's actually an active project right now. We have some tier 3 rack space that's allocated for this, and we don't talk too much about it because we'd rather produce some figures and numbers. But it is an active R&D project that's underway. Our team is building out all the software platform that will be client facing, and this is all well underway. So that's the extent I'll say right now. And at the appropriate time, we would do a press release with a little bit more color. But right now, our fleet is primarily mining Ethereum. And so, that's why we're ensuring that we're getting good dollar for our hash rates. And the other point I wanted to make, our Bitcoin break-even price using the Ethereum, it's very attractive, right? So because of the lower OpEx and higher profit margins from our Ethereum mining footprint, if you do it on a conversion, it's less than $2,000 USD. And that figure comes from late last year, right? So again, it gives a good value proposition from when you do want to look at the break-even cost of Bitcoin production equivalent. So yeah, that was just one other data point I wanted to add.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think it's a good addition for you that you also have ether mining, especially in the bull run. In the bear market, it could be hard to be ether miner, but no one knows how this plays out. This is the future. Yeah, you have this hodl. Some competitors are generating yield on the hodl. None of them is staking so far as I'm aware of. So what is the strategy here? Why not using the big balance sheet to generate yield or to stake something?
Well, being a public company, the custody is very important, right? You have to satisfy the auditors, revenue recognition. They have like a bucket list of like things that are like very important. There are things that perhaps a crypto hobbyist might take for granted. They'd say, well, of course I have my coins. I mean, my tracer is right there. But when it comes to being a public company, there's a whole layer of controls and procedures in place that have to be contemplated. And so all of a sudden, if you give up custody of your coins, and so now they're staked with a third party, that introduces another layer of consideration. And so I'm not saying that it's impossible, but you definitely have to measure twice and cut once when you make a jump like that as a public company. So I think the prospect is very interesting, and that's all I can say for now. Is that it's an interesting prospect. So, but you asked very good questions, right? You asked very good questions. So,
Thank you. Yeah, we are looking forward to this too. When it comes to Bitcoin mining, I think why are these companies are undervalued right now? People are thinking about the risks, and we recently heard something from Europe. They said, okay, proof of work, we don't want it. One party I think made a draft there and things like this. So what are you guys doing to measure the risk in these countries, to do lobby there, to improve the understanding of Bitcoin mining there?
So in all of the jurisdictions that we operate in, we always try to engage the community. So for example, in New Brunswick, we actually had the mayor come visit our site in December. And we had a great article by CBC, which is National News in Canada. They did a great coverage piece. In Sweden, we sponsored the local hockey team. It's all about working. We've got a great relationship with New Brunswick Power, and our executives in Sweden regularly meet with our power and utility providers there. So it's very much being directly engaged with them. We've scaled in our existing footprints, and in order to scale, you have to, of course, have the support of the municipality because you're doing an infrastructure project. You have to have the support of the energy provider because you're becoming an even bigger client. I think where you might read a headline of a politician that isn't in the ecosystem but wants to have a loud voice and try to enact some policy from an outer shell. I think it's just like populist sort of rabble rousing. They're trying to latch on to, well, okay, who else isn't going to like proof of work? Okay, let me just round up this sort of dissenting opinion and see if I can get some political clout. I mean, if I may be so bold to say that, but let's be real, there's career politicians out there. But I mean, we develop infrastructure. It's an energy-backed currency. You look at a lot of politicians that are obviously very, very pro Bitcoin, and so I think that, you know, for every politician out there that is anti-Bitcoin or anti-proof of work, you will find a lot of them that are very supportive of it. I think that it's being able to understand the value that cryptocurrencies provide, and that you know, understanding it's an energy-backed currency, because there's so many trapped and stranded sources of energy, and there's like even with on grid, there's like load balancing that happens all the time. I mean, I don't know if people know this, but you know, in the US or whether it's in Canada, when you have, like in the US, they call them ISOs, independent system operators. Those are energy submarkets, right? So, you know, there's New York ISO, there's New England ISO, there's mid-continent ISO. These are like, you know, they covered not just one state, like they'll cover like a swath of the country. And so like these are all like energy submarkets, and there's different power producers within them, and you know, sometimes they sell their prices from one ISO can inform the others, and sometimes, you know, provinces in Canada, you know, sell electricity to each other. So it's this big flow, like, you know, energy, it's electrons, it's flowing, it has to go somewhere. It's very expensive to store, right? So, you know, having like, usually utility providers, they actually love crypto mining clients because we have a very high load factor. They're like, perfect. This is a client that's going to be on 24/7 with a 99% load factor. They can plan for that very easily, right? Normal factories is kind of like, you know, ramp on at parts of the day, then come down, and you know, and so you know, it's as long as they can plan for it and plan ahead and have, you know, the infrastructure and distribution, you know, generally utilities are they like the revenue that the cryptocurrency mining operations,
Yes.
you know, produce.
Yeah, I think it's the perfect fit for an energy company to support the miners. Yeah, and that's why I'm not too concerned about it, because over time people will learn this. We will see projects they prove, or especially Hive in Sweden. I think you have this relationship with the energy provider, with yeah, load balancing and things like this. I mean, we have to talk about this stuff to explain the people that we're helping to stabilize the grid, and not that we're hurting or we're driving the prices up and things like this. I think the communication is also important on these topics.
Exactly. I mean, it's not like a clandestine operation. You know, you're you know, running out with some jumper cables and stealing power. It doesn't work like that. Like you're in full concert with the utility providers, and you know, they're like this stuff. Like I've dealt with, and you know, all the real players in this game, they're dealing directly with energy providers. They're dealing, you know, with, you know, engineers on the other side, and you know, you're having meetings, and they're doing infrastructure projects on their side, whether it's, you know, they're understanding their grid, their demand, their substations, their transmission lines to get to your site. Everything happens in concert, right? I think, you know, where sometimes you have some utility companies, they get frustrated by tire kickers that will come in with these applications for like huge amounts of megawatts. And you know, I've seen this in different jurisdictions. You have people that just want to tie up power, but they're not real players in the industry, and they'll submit an application form, and you know, they put, well, maybe we'll apply for 5. Well, why don't we put an extra 0? We'll apply for 50. Why don't we apply for 500 megawatts? There's like nothing, you know, no skin in the game up front. Yeah. And so some of these utilities would get overwhelmed by these applications, and it's kind of happened. And so now they're just sort of adapting, and they're realizing, okay, well, we're not just going to take seriously some guy who slides a piece of paper saying he wants 100 megawatts, and you know, based on what. And you know, I think as they put deposits and they do more you know, engagement and understanding the profile of the applicant, then they can plan better. So but again, you know, the real players in this space, everyone that you cover, you know, I think the reputation of and track record precedes us, and so yeah.
Okay, so how do you operate Oh, I think we have an echo right now. How do you operate? Yeah, your different facilities there. How can you explain us how is a typical day for you to the numbers, the team meetings, and things like this?
Well, we have daily team meetings, all hands on deck, and we report our figures. So everyone globally is completely in sync. And, you know, a lot of our technical guys, you know, we're looking at our dashboards constantly and communicating with our operation teams on the ground at our different data centers. So yeah, everything works. And, you know, in terms of having RMAs and repairs to machines, yeah, we've got quite a symphony of things happening constantly throughout the day. But yeah, you know, we spend time integrating or building our own dashboards to integrate the operation of sites globally. I think companies that maybe are used to just having like one site, like maybe one really big site, all your eggs in one basket. When you're operating sites globally, there's an extra layer of sophistication to tie it all together, and that's something that Hive has done an excellent job of honing.
Yeah, very interesting. How many employees has Hive right now, approximately?
I believe Hive has approximately 18 employees globally, but you know we've got our operations in Sweden. There's Iceland, New Brunswick, Quebec, and of course, I myself and our CFO Darcy were based in Vancouver, and so we have team members all over the place. Frank, of course, is in Texas. So yeah, that's sort of how the team is quite spread out.
Okay, nice. Yeah, what do you think about the hash rate? I mean, with Ether mining hash rate, we just reached I think one petahash, I think. So that's a new all-time high. With Bitcoin, we're close to a new all-time high, or maybe we are now. Where do you see the hash rate going in the upcoming months and years?
Well, I actually think that the Bitcoin hash rate will probably grow quicker because so much money has been raised and attributed to 2022 pipeline of ASICs. And, you know, we've seen, for example, Bitmain came out with the S19 XP, you know, 135 terahash. I think it's like 23 joules per terahash. So it's like a next generation efficient miner. And you saw some really big orders hit the headlines. And so you will see that, you know, hit the network hash rate. I think that it's a little more difficult to secure Ethereum GPUs. So I don't think that we're going to see as much growth in the Ethereum network hash rate. However, if there's strong price action in Ethereum as a currency for all of its different smart contracts and you know DeFi and all this stuff that exists on different manners on the Ethereum blockchain, I think we'll see strong price action on Ethereum. And so I think Ethereum mining will continue to be very profitable as well. But yeah, you know, the hash rates are going to grow. And that's why it's so important that, you know, you buy your ASICs at a good dollar per terahash price. And so just because, you know, a brand new shiny toy car comes out, and I mean, you know, a new crypto miner model, you've got to look at the ROI, right? And so what's your ROI going to look like, and be mindful of your power costs. You know, I think some people are trying to tie up supply just for the sake of tying up supply. Whereas, you know, when mining margins thin out, it's important to be able to, because the whole point of the game is to have an accretive business story where, you know, you have a return on invested capital. So if you never really make your money back on your investment on ASIC miners, and you've raised a bunch of money to buy those miners, and you've diluted your stock, and now you have more shares outstanding, and then, you know, in 3 to 5 years you go out and try to raise more money, it's you want to be able to like stay ahead of the curve. Like if you're a long-term company looking to you know, be around in 10 years, it's the business decisions that you make along the way that are going to count, right? So it's always very important to look at where, you know, for even for the casual crypto enthusiasts out there, you can go to bit info charts. You could just Google bit info charts, Bitcoin mining economics, and it'll show you the dollar per terahash per day. And so, if you're in Telegram channels and you hear about people selling miners, well, look at your dollar per terahash per day macro Bitcoin mining economics, and then look at the dollar per terahash that the manufacturer is selling for. And without naming any names, I mean, people were trying to sell machines for, future delivery at $80 a terahash in early November. And they were trying to sell that same machine in mid-December when mining economics had corrected substantially, Bitcoin mining economics, because difficulty had gone up and price had come down a little bit, which is the normal course of business. But that purchase of machines was a much better buy if you looked at the ROI based on the November economics than December. But the manufacturers didn't correct their price, right? They were still trying to sell at that same high price. And so, I think it's very important for people just broadly to understand that aspect of the business. And so, it's, again, when you've mined through 2018 and 2019 and 2020, and you've seen those margins thin out, then you'll know firsthand from experience. And I know you've been an investor through all these periods, so you felt those two crypto winters.
Yes, it is not easy. I mean, right now it feels also a little bit like a crypto winter, but it should be short-lived. A real crypto winter is completely different. I've experienced this. This is really about surviving it. But I think that the 2018, 2019 crypto winter was very special. Yeah, we will see. No one can predict the future, but there will be harder times, definitely. Okay. Yeah, was great to talk to you, Aydin. Yeah, Hive was my first Bitcoin miner I was investing, and I'm still holding strong. And I hope for a great future. I'm believing in the team, and yeah, I mean, we need now Bitcoin to go up a little bit, and I think this will help too. And I hope we can talk soon again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, on the show to discuss Bitcoin mining. I want to do it more regularly, so that would
Definitely
be nice too. Yeah, thank you very much for coming to the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, Lucas. It's a pleasure, and I look forward to speaking to you soon.
Yeah, thank you.